Hi, this is Elden with an introduction to Unit 3 of CRST511 Disciplinary Foundations. This week we read Csikszentmihalyi's seminal 1996 book, Creativity, Flow and the Psychology of Discovery and Invention. Csikszentmihalyi taught psychology at the University of Chicago for many years and is now at the Claremont Graduate University in California. He was born in Croatia and immigrated to this country in his 20s. He is a prolific author and well-known scholar. If you haven't done so already, Google his name and you'll find lots of information about him, as well as papers and talks he has given. I've included a video excerpt of an interview with him on this page as well for you to watch. He developed a theory of creativity that is probably the single most influential idea in creativity to have emerged in the past several decades. His systems theory, explained in part 1 of his book, completely revolutionized the way creativity is understood. He sees creativity as the interaction between 3 forces: the creative person, a domain of knowledge, and the field or gatekeepers of that domain. In essence, he argues that something is creative when people who best know a particular domain of knowledge accept that new idea into the domain. But the consensus among those individuals can change over time, and his theory accommodates this reality. A work may be creative at one point in time when it is accepted into the domain, and not creative at another point in time when it is rejected from the domain. Under this theory, a work is no longer inherently creative or inherently uncreative, but rather that determination varies depending on how it is viewed and perceived by people at any specific time. Another consequence of this theory is that the idea of unrecognized creativity becomes an oxymoron. If a work is not recognized as creative, it is by definition not creative. If, on the other hand, it is recognized as useful and valuable to a specific domain, it is creative. One thing to keep in mind regarding this theory is that it applies only to big C or immanent creativity, the Picassos and Einsteins of this world. Since his theory depends on a field of gatekeepers knowing and evaluating an item, it just doesn't work well with everyday creativity. My grandmother may have been incredibly creative in her housekeeping, but not enough people knew about her housekeeping or had the chance to evaluate it for this theory to provide any meaningful analysis or conclusions about the way she kept her home. The other major idea in this book is Csikszentmihalyi's concept of flow. We have all experienced those peak moments when we're in the midst of some project or activity and we lose all sense of the passage of time. We seem to know exactly what to do, distractions completely disappear, and we have a complete lack of self-consciousness. Csikszentmihalyi calls this flow, and set out to describe this state in his 1990 book simply called Flow. He says that this state of consciousness can occur in just about any of life's endeavors, whether it be physical activities, romance, daily work, or anything else. Then in his book Creativity, written a few years later, he specifically applies the idea of flow to creativity. This is just a very brief thumbnail sketch of a theory that he takes an entire book to explain, so my explanation is necessarily very limited and incomplete. A lot of students seem to have trouble with the notion of gatekeepers and the idea that something can be creative at one point in time and not creative at another. My goal here is for you to understand his theory. Of course, after reading the book and discussing his ideas, you can agree or disagree, so long as you do so with clear arguments and not just a gut reaction. As a practical matter, I usually abbreviate his last name CSIK. As many years as I've read his works, I always have to look up the spelling of his last name. It's just easier to abbreviate it. Enjoy your reading, and I'll see you in the discussion forums.